Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Bill Martinez Live, a program about current events, our culture, our values, our politics, and our future. And now, Bill Martinez.
We better stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going on. Stop. Hey, what's that sound?
Well, hello, America. Bill Martinez here with you. It's just about 6 minutes after the top of the hour. As always, it's an honor to have you along with us as we continue to, find the facts. And that's what we want to look at. Find the facts, find the truth. Let's make decisions based on the facts and the truth of the matter. And it will go a long way. No doubt that we've been rather confused because of this information world in which we live in. There's maybe some would say too much information. We're on information overload. Well, one topic that we wanted to focus on this particular hour, and I'm glad and blessed that we could have Bill Salus back with us, because last week we touched on a introduction of his book, The Now Prophecies, Disaster in Iran, Destruction of Damascus, Decline of America, the Final Era of Israeli War. But there's so much to really dig down and get into the Now Prophecies perspective, because we've been hearing about prophecy for years and years, and now we're at a point where, when you have Dr. Billy Graham saying we're in the end of the end of the last days, I mean, you got to take note. And more people are saying, wait a minute, these things are starting to fall into place here. What does that have to say about me as a person of faith? What do I need to do to get in line with God's will and His kingdom that is now, coming at us at Mach 5 speeds? And, what other things do I need to anticipate? Because God didn't give us prophecy, just for fun. I mean, there was a definite purpose for why. And, first of all, it would lend credibility to God and what He's all about, as if God needs more credibility. I mean, every day we wake up and we see the sun. I look around and I just see God's creation, and wow, I mean, what more do you need? And I think that's why Jesus, at some point, when all the wise people of the day said, "Well, give us a sign," it's like, are you kidding me? You've got enough. I'm not going to give you a sign. You got enough signs. If you can't figure it out by now, well, forget it. Bill Salus, by the way, let me introduce and bring him on. A media personality has appeared on major Christian TV networks like TBN, CBN, Daystar, many more. Additionally, he's a conference speaker and the best-selling author of Psalm 83, The Missing Prophecy Revealed, How Israel Becomes the Next Mid-East Superpower. And you can go to his website at prophecydepot.com. That's depot like Home Depot, prophecydepot.com for more information. Bill, thank you for being available to come on and spend this hour with us talking about the Now Prophecies.
Well, Bill, thank you for giving me the opportunity. There's a lot to talk about right now when we talk about biblical prophecy. You've been doing a wonderful job on your show here these last few years, and you're bringing the perspective, the Christian biblical perspective to your listeners, your audience, and that's really critical when we talk about, well, what does the future hold? Because the world is, as you've been talking about, is decaying. It's in a state of chaos, a state of flux. And when the things that are going on in America right now, especially the concerns with this presidential election, which is dominating the mainstream media, it just is indicative of the fact that people are very concerned about their world. And if you sit down and talk to the average guy, and I do this as frequently as possible, and ask them, do you think things are going to get better for America and the world? The resounding answer is usually no, or I think they'll get worse before they get better. So the point I'm trying to make in this interview with you today, Bill, is that, okay, the geopolitical perspective is important. The military analysts, the political strategists, the pundits that they get on the mainstream media, that's important. But in the eyes of the viewer and the ears of the listener, they all want to know your question. So what? So what does it mean to me, and what does the future hold? Will ISIS be an existential threat to America? These kind of questions. Will some super political hero turn this country's future around? That's what they want to know. And bless the souls of those people that are interviewed on Fox and CNN and those places, but they will not be able to give them the future perspective that the listeners and the viewers are looking for, because they don't know the prophecies in most cases. So that's what we're going to bring to them in this interview today.
Well, that's great. You and I, Bill, we had a conference in Southern California several years ago talking about syncing up with God's prophetic clock and His timeline. And this is, to me, what prophecy is all about. is that, it's really black and white. You either are going to be with God or you're going to be against God. You're going to be in rhythm with what God is doing, or you're going to be, you're going to pay a big price for being out of sync with God's prophetic clock, aren't you?
Absolutely. And so basically for your listeners, Bible prophecy is invaluable predictive information outsourced from a loving God with 100% accuracy, and that's really important to note, that is intended to authenticate God's sovereignty, to equip us for the days in which we live as human beings, and 3, it can spare lives and it can save souls. You can actually witness through Bible prophecy to bring people to know Jesus Christ and into the kingdom of God. It is so important to the Lord that He devoted about a third of the Bible towards it. There's about 31,000 verses in the Bible, and about 9,000 or so of those, we would say, have been devoted toward Bible prophecy. Now, many of those prophecies have found historical fulfillment, a whole bunch of them at the first coming of Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. But there are a whole bunch of them that have not found fulfillment yet. And so what we've got to be concerned about, the most important information for any generation throughout all time, was the information, prophetic information, that the Lord imparted for them to have that would find application in their lifetime. And so, for instance, in Noah's case, was really important to him was to know that there was going to be a worldwide flood, and that he needed to move on that information, and he did. And in so doing, he honored God, and he preserved the posterity of his family, as his wife and their 3 sons and their 3 wives got on that ark and were preserved. Joseph, at the time of the Pharaoh in Egypt about 3,600 years ago, he was told there would be 7 years of famine coming, but the good news is it would be preceded by 7 years of plenty. So Joseph and the Egyptian people moved on that information. That was their now prophecy. That was what they had to pay attention to now at that time. Mm-hmm. Another one more example is Jeremiah. Around 2,600 years ago, he was told that the Jewish people were going to go into 7 years of captivity. He needed to prepare them for that, and that was in Jeremiah 25. On the flip side, Jeremiah chapter 49 was talking about now prophecies for our generation, dealing with Jordan and dealing with the Palestinians and dealing with Syria and dealing with Iran. So what's relevant is what's going to happen to us now. What's the information we need to know right now? And that's what the Now Prophecies book brings forward.
Well, you asked the question, what is it that we need to know now?
Well, when we talk about the Now Prophecies, what I do in this book is, first of all, I talk about where are we now on God's timeline. That's very important to put mankind on the prophetic calendar. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. Also, what are the events that lack preconditions? In other words, they could happen now at the present time, and because of that, then we need to be prepared as a people now for these types of things. So this is what are the disaster in Iran and destruction of Damascus, the toppling of Jordan, the terrorization of Egypt, the final Arab-Israeli war, the decline of America, the expansion of Israel, the vanishing of the Christians. These are just a few of them that are the Now Prophecies that we want to explore in this hour.
Well, we're going to break it down coming up right after the break. Stay with us, America. Our conversation with Bill Salus, media personality who's appeared in major Christian TV networks like TBN, CBN, Daystar, and many others. We're talking about the Now Prophecies that include the disaster in Iran, destruction of Damascus, decline of America, the final Arab-Israeli war. We're starting to see it all unfold. So what does that mean for us? How do we have to prepare ourselves? That discussion will continue on the other side of the break with Bill Salus. It's 14 minutes after the top of the hour.